Landmines and jellyfish. Welcome back to Knives, I guess. And if Jesus isn't real, then why are werewolves afraid of Geico commercials? Checkmate, atheists. But do me a favor and hit that like button or your dad won't stop and get you ice cream later. And we just spent a week carrying the Petrified Fish Beluga. So let's take a look at what we're holding because it's protocol. It'll bother you if I don't. And you know I spoil you. So, first things first and most importantly, the pocket clip is tip up, which is the Lord's carry. It is reversible. We have got the blue micarta, we have got a front flipper, and we have got a fuller right here. So let's flick off the fuller this time. And 3.62 inches of K110 steel, which is just D2 wearing a fake mustache and a trench coat. That's right, it's, I believe, Bowler's version of D2. So we got a lot of good going on here. And we've got a flat grind all the way up to this fuller right here. I love it. I love it. So, this is one that I have been excited to carry for a while. You guys voted on this one, which if you want to help make decisions like that, keep up with the live streams. Drop by and check them out. Most weeks, I'll let y'all pick which knife I get to carry for the next week. It's a lot of fun. But, you know, like, before I carried this thing, you know, took a look at it, looked at it very favorably. And my guesses on this thing were there were going to be no major problems. There's only one gripe I have with this thing overall after everything, and it's a front flipper on a knife this big. Any knife this big with a front flipper, I'm not going to like too much, because, I mean, this thing, you got to hold it kind of weird, and it's not the easiest and most comfortable thing in the world to actuate. It's not. You know, I tried getting used to it, and I wound up breaking down and just flicking off with a fuller right here. You know, you just flick off the fuller and you're good to go. Way easier. Or centrifugal opening it. This thing will centrifugal open, which I absolutely love. If you don't know, centrifugal opening is my favorite method of opening a knife. You just brute force it right open. It's so much fun for me personally. So it will do that. It won't do it under the camera, or I'd show you. The action is a little bit tight. The blade's not weighted quite right. You got to hold it just right and flick it hard. But it'll do it. And, you know, I'm sure if I played with this thing some more and really broke it in good, it probably would do it a lot easier, but, you know, that's okay. So, like, my guess for this thing was there was going to be no major problems except for the dingus end right here of the front flipper, catching on stuff, trying to get it out of my pocket, and that just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. You know, the carry on this thing was great. I had absolutely no issues with it outside of the normal problems with a bigger knife taking up real estate in the pocket, but, yeah, outside of that, there's absolutely nothing to complain about. You know, the pocket clip, it was definitely, the dingus end of the pocket clip right here is raised enough. It was easy to get over the hem of the pocket. Pocket clip is medium to high strength, like it's somewhere in that 3/4 range. It's got a nice strong pull on it, but it's not overwhelming. So that, you know, that was quite good. It held itself in place, gave me no issues pulling it back out of the pocket. Very well designed pocket clip. You know, it did everything really good. I fed it some cardboard, and thanks to that flat grind, right here, the flat grind on a wide piece of stock right here, it was very, very slicey. I think you can kind of see right there where I did get some cardboard with it. So, it did great there. I mean, it did everything great. Like, I can't really find any complaints with it. And that was what I was hoping for with this. You know, I was hoping we had something where I couldn't find any major complaints, anything that I could really gripe about. And, I mean, it's just, again, the only big gripe that I have really is just that front flipper. You know, I'd rather have I'd rather have like a flipper tab or nothing there and just do a fuller flick. Although I'm pretty sure having just a fuller there to flick off of would be a bit harder of a sell, especially to guys that aren't super into knives that don't realize a knife with a fuller you can flick off about as easily as a thumb hole. You know, maybe make the fuller a bit more accessible. There's not a lot of real estate there, but the edges on the inside of the fuller are quite sharp, so it's not hard to get a good grip on it. However, if you're fidgeting with this thing and you hit this part right here and run your fingers back, it does not feel good. It almost feels like you're cutting yourself on it. So, like, the fidget factor here, the stimming with the texture, yeah, that's not a lot of fun if you get it wrong. I will say that. Like, I like fidgeting with this stuff, and I really like, you know, textures and things of that nature. So you get something with some nice chamfers on it, a little bit of jimping, a thumb hole, something like that. I'll sit there and mess with it till the cows come home. This one, trying to really play with that thing. More than once I got my finger caught in here just right to where it felt like I might have been cutting myself with it. So they could have chamfered that. That's that $5 word again, folks. But they could have chamfered that a little bit better and made it a little less sharp. But I mean, that is such a minor gripe, and it is such a non-issue that it's not funny. That's one of those personal things. I'm sure some of you guys can relate, some of y'all can't. But yeah, I mean, if you're not like a knife guy and you've never flicked off of a filler before, you're not going to know that instinctively. So that would have been a harder sell than, say, the front flipper, which was the buzzword for the time. You know, like front flippers were a huge buzzword, so everything had to have one. And it's just a knife with a blade over 2 inches with a front flipper. It's not for me. It's not for me. At least this thing had an alternate way of opening it. You know, it just so, I mean, it covered itself. It did cover itself in the long run. It can centrifugal. You can flick off the fuller. You got ways to open it besides that front flipper. So it did redeem itself in that aspect. Like I said, I really can't find anything to argue with. You know, the only thing that I can say is I got this used in a trade. And I don't know whether or not we're on the factory edge or if it was sharpened after the fact. So we are taking that into account. Like the edge looks good, but I'm not seeing that belt satin grind. It looks like it may have been sharpened because the grind marks are going this way. Like somebody, you know, pushed it along a stone. So, you know, like I didn't really get a good look at the factory edge, which, you know, some guys say the factory edge is not that important. I respectfully disagree just because, you know, for guys like me, especially guys like me a year ago, that didn't have sharpening equipment, weren't comfortable sharpening, that factory edge was a really big deal. You know, for guys that just want to grab and carry without having to worry about reprofiling edge or something like that, that factory edge is a big deal. You know, the better the factory edge is, the better the geometry is on it, the longer you can carry it before either having to have it sharpened by a friend or break down and learn how to sharpen. Like, the factory edge is a big deal. And of course, finding out whether or not the steel on the edge is burned, also kind of a big deal for me personally. So we will find out about the edge retention quality a bit later on. This is going in the box for a random roll live stream, which if you haven't seen a random roll, the live stream starts with 5 knives on a table, numbered 1 through 20, and I will roll the D20 of Destiny to see which one we get for the night. Last night we got the QSP Penguin out of that. So that's going to be a ton of fun, and I suspect this thing is going to slice so well, and the ergonomics are going to be so good, because like right up here where I grip where the callus hits, you've got the front flipper holding that down, so it's a flat spot instead of a gap between the liners. So the front flipper does have a redeeming quality in and of itself too. That is going to reduce the pain that I am experiencing while I'm doing these push cuts so well. That is going to be such a huge help. I cannot tell you how much it helps. You know, I've got a pretty beefy callus here from doing all these live streams, and when this thing does not fall into a gap between the liners, it makes the night so much better. But let's take a look at where the edge is sitting right now and see how that's doing before we close the video out. Because, I mean, it's, again, the edge did fine. You know, cutting the plastic off a pallet's one of the tests that I use. If you've got a really nice edge, it'll go through it like you're cutting water. If your edge has got some small issues, it'll pull, it'll tear a little bit. This thing definitely pulled and tore a little bit. It wasn't necessarily the most, like, a good edge is like you're cutting through water on that saran wrap. This pulled and hung up a little bit. It might be a little bit toothier of an edge than was compatible with that plastic. I'm not sure. But let's take a look at the edge tester, which you guys kindly provided through your super chat donations, your channel memberships, everything else. So thank you for that. Those things, those donations do go right back into the channel. I'm not blowing them on myself necessarily. So we guys have this, and how this works, if you haven't seen this before, I know a lot of you guys have, but if you haven't, it measures the number of grams of force it takes to cut through the wire on this calibrated test clip right here. And so we'll take a look at that real quick, and you'll get an idea what's going on here. The lower the number, the better. Getting down below 150 is very good. Getting up above 200 is kind of bad. But we've been seeing a lot of 250s on edges that work great. So, yeah, we got a 212 here. So the 212, that's a decent edge. That also lines up with what I saw on the cut on the paper and the cut on the plastic on the pallet. That lines up with it pretty well. So, I mean, no major issues there. That 212 on D2 should hold up pretty well to Cardboard Slayer. I don't see any major issues happening there either. So, you know, overall, at the end of the day, all in, I really like this thing. The gripes that I have with it are so close to being non-issues, it's not funny. Like, the gripes are tiny. You know, the front flipper I don't like. However, it's going to protect my hand during a Cardboard Slayer, which I genuinely appreciate. And, you know, the alternate methods to open it definitely compensate for the front flipper. They don't have that as the only option to open it, so I really like that. And, yeah, like I said, the gripes I have are pretty much non-issues. So this is the Petrified Fish Beluga. If you've got your eye on it, I'd say go ahead and grab one. I feel like it's well worth it, unless we have some issues like the QSP Penguin did during a Cardboard Slayer. But we'll see it again on the random roll at some point here. So all that being said, thanks for looking at my crap. Subscribers, you guys are awesome. Y'all keep coming in, and I appreciate you so much. If you haven't subscribed, please do. We've got our live streams, regular videos. There's plenty of activities. Comments, I love some feedback. Let me know what you think about this thing or anything else. And all that being said, y'all have a nice day.